wish he was here because he's always a great in-studio guest when he is here from All Elite Wrestling Dynamite, which airs Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, one of the all-time greats from his profession, the fun, the talented, the great Chris Jericho. How are you been, Chris?
Jeez, that was a hell of an intro, Rich.
You know what?
I appreciate that.
That's what happens when I'm quarantined for much of the day, Chris, you know?
I was going to say, you're far meaner when we're in person.
How's life for you? What's going on with you, man?
You know what, man? I'll tell you what. Like, the one thing that I didn't want to do is fall into the every day is Groundhog Day type theory. So I've been still being as creative as I can, still doing a lot of podcasts, doing a lot of press, talking to wonderful people such as yourself.
Thank you, sir.
But the big thing is, as you know, since wrestling is deemed an essential business in Florida,
yes,
we've still been working pretty much every Wednesday. We've been doing a show. So it's been even more unique and interesting for me.
Well, obviously, Chris, when you are part of a match that involves you and Sammy Guevara as Le Sex Gods, what's more essential than that, Chris? You know?
Exactly. We're providing hope and fantasy to all everybody watching. I'm going to use that. We provide hope and fantasy.
By the way, yes, you do, Chris. So does some other establishments in the state of Florida. So let's talk about. I mean, that was just set up as a spinning curveball. Yeah. I mean, I had to hit that one out of the park right there.
Shanho Park to Cal Ripken.
It was a cookie. That was a cookie. For those who may have missed the exploits of Le Sex Gods against Matt Harvey and Kenny Omega, walk us through what happened. Chris?
Well, once again, I mean, we're providing entertainment throughout this lockdown, and it's different because we're in the middle of an empty arena, which is very strange because much like a stand-up comedian or a rock and roll show, if you don't have a crowd that's responding to what you're doing, it's very, very strange. So
right.
What we've done in AEW is we've placed some of our staff ringside. We work in Daly's Place, which is connected to the stadium in Jacksonville. So there's 3 tiers of this kind of big amphitheater, so we can put people in the 3rd tier, the 2nd tier, and around rings. So if you're doing 10, 12 people around, 30 people all included, it makes some noise. And when I first started wrestling, I wrestled to a lot less than 30 people. So it does give you some ambiance. And also on top of that, rather than just having wrestling match after wrestling match in the ring, we're doing some different stuff. We did a street fight last week where we just went and looked around what was available to us kind of in this concourse of the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium and put on a pretty fun show. And I think if you're treating it more like a Hollywood stunt fight, like a Hollywood brawl that you would see in a movie, it's much more entertaining than if you're treating it just as a wrestling match, but there's nobody there. And we can see that there's nobody there, so why bother pretending? So I think that's the idea of what we did last week with the crazy street fight and running over each other with golf carts and doing moonsaults off scissor lifts and garbage cans and ice machines and just stuff like that you don't normally see, but it provides a unique atmosphere and it's a lot of fun.
Well,
entertaining.
I would ask how you got into the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium, but we all know who's behind AEW Dynamite, right, on TNT. It's the Khan family, Tony and Shad, the son and father combination that owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. This AEW has been dynamite. It really, really has, Chris. Why do you think it's worked the way it has?
Well, I mean, there's a kind of a combination of factors, Rich. One, we're doing things completely differently from everybody else, any other wrestling company, in that we're letting the guys basically not call their own shots, but we're letting the professionals be professional and be creative. And that's where most of the stuff stands from, is that we're just being creative. And, you got guys with 20, 30 years experience who kind of know what they're doing. So when you kind of have those chains unlocked, it provides a lot more freedom and a lot more fun. 2, we have a very passionate owner in Tony Khan, and Shad as well has been very supportive, but Tony's kind of spearheading it all.
Yeah.
And he knows what he wants, and that's one thing I really appreciate. We have a boss who has passion for the business, has respect for the business, but also knows what he wants and is not swayed by anybody. And then you've got a whole crew of guys and girls who chose not to go anywhere else, who chose to come to AEW and take a chance. And we all kind of consider this our own company because we're the ones that built it. So when you have stake in it and skin in the game, as they say, you have a lot more pride and passion for what you're doing. So if you combine all those things, and also with a great fan base that has followed us from day one and hasn't really left. I mean, we lost a little bit of our audience, but not much. They've been with us the whole way. So it's been a real good kind of culmination of all these factors of people being very passionate on both sides of the camera.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.